brothers and come sisters, come weary and come strong. Come meet the man who reaps the land on which we walk upon. The time's come for judgment, but we ain't done nothing wrong. Join us so we all can sing along. Oh, John, bold and brave, he's finding us a family, he's teaching us the faith. Oh, John, keep us safe, he's gonna march us right through Eden's gate.
Alright, so today I'll be making the highly requested and popular M4 Sherman. I'm pretty sure that everyone that is into military stuff knows about this tank. But if you don't know what the M4 Sherman was, the M4 Sherman was a tank used in World War II. And it was probably the best tank of the war. It was a reliable, cheap tank that could be used everywhere. This tank was requested by many people. It was first requested by Jake Stop Play. Then it was requested by Skywalker and Red Team Killer. And let me just say, that's a lot of requests. Some of the other popular tanks, such as the Panther, the Tiger, or the T-34, were only requested by one person. And so, finally, I finished your request. So, let's get into the video.
He's gonna march us right through Eden's gate. Oh, Lord, he's gonna march us right through Eden's gate. Oh, Lord, he's gonna march us right through Eden's gate.
So, to start off, here's an image of the M4 Sherman. Now here is my old M4 Sherman that I made. And let me just say, this tank looks nothing like the M4 Sherman. This was mainly because the M4 Sherman was the first tank I've ever created. So the realism and production quality of the M4 Sherman that I created is really bad. The only thing I got right about the M4 Sherman was its wheels. So anyways, to start making the tank, I made the base of the tank. I first made the frontal slope of the tank. Then I tried to bend the back piece of the tank to make it look like this. Then I added on this small back piece. And then I glued on the sides. To get the right shape for the sides, I just traced out the sides on the cardboard. Then after all that, I had this weird slope thingy. And now I wanted to work on the bottom of the tank. Now the bottom of the M4 Sherman is really interesting. Not many tanks that I know of have a curved bottom like this. But I guess that's what makes the M4 Sherman so iconic. So for the curved piece, I just cut off a smaller piece of cardboard. And I curved it under the tank. Then I added on this other piece of cardboard to make the back longer. And then I was finished with this. This is basically the main shape of the tank. Now it was time to make the turret. For this I cut out a flat piece of paper in the shape of the turret. Then I wanted to make the army man on the top. I wouldn't usually add an army man on the top, but for a future video I needed an army man commander on the top of a tank, so I just decided to add him. So first I cut out a little hole on the top of the turret, and I made sure it fit an army man. Then I cut a hole into the base of the tank to make the turret movable. I just cut a decent sized hole into the tank. And then I got the circle that I cut out and glued it onto a bigger circle. After that I stick the circle thingy under the tank. And I make sure it fits through the hole. And then I glue the bottom of the turret onto the circle. This should allow the turret to move. But to make sure the turret doesn't come apart, I scratch up the surfaces where the glue will be to have a better bond. So anyways, now the turret should be able to turn. Now to add the army man on top. Of course, you can't really stick an army man into the top of the turret without breaking the tank. Because if you add an actual army man into the Sherman, it wouldn't fit. So what I did was I got this army man that I broke, and I trimmed off his legs to fit inside the Sherman. Although this might not be an option for you if you don't want to destroy your army man. And I don't like destroying my army man either, so that's why I used a broken one. And using a trimmed army man is the easiest way to add an army man on the top of the tank. So now that I'm finished with the turret, I just glue on the sides of the bottom of the tank. And then I add these track coverings which should fit snugly under the tank. As you can see here, I have a huge gap here for some reason. I may have trimmed off too much cardboard. So to fix that, I just fill in the cracks with a lot of hot glue. And since you'll be painting the tank later on, it doesn't really show. Now that the whole base of the tank is basically finished, it's time to add details. The first thing I wanted to add was a gun for the turret. First I got this bent piece of cardboard, and then I glued it onto the front of the turret to give it a sloped front. After that I add the actual gun of the turret. The gun is basically just a broken off piece of a mechanical pencil. I also glued on a circle onto the back of the hatch to make it look like it was opened. Then I just add more details. These are basically just scraps that I glue onto the tank to give it more dimension and to make it look less flat. Another important detail that I add are these little machine gun turrets. The turrets are just basically some cut up paper clips and some hot glue. Then I added the wheels for the Sherman. The wheels for the Sherman are really different. There's one big wheel and another smaller wheel in the back. Then there's a bunch of other smaller wheels with a little suspension or something on it. Not really sure what they're for, but who really cares? Then I just add the wheels on the other side too. Now for the tracks. The tracks are made by just peeling off some cardboard to get this corrugated stuff. Then I cut them into strips and paint them black. And after all that, I paint the whole entire tank a dark green. And for one final detail, I paint on this white American star on the tank. This proved to be challenging because I didn't let the whole entire tank dry before I painted on the stars. After the main body of the tank was dry, I glued on the tracks. And now you're basically done. Here's the final product. And here it is next to some army men. So, thank you to all the people for requesting the M4 Sherman. And also, I'm ready to announce my new stop motion that I'm making. This stop motion will be a Battle Royale themed stop motion to get on with the trend. And it will be posted in a week or so. Anyways, thank you all for watching.